Oh, should we do this? Clay and Buck?
Which one? Oh,
These are the guys who filled in for Rush Limbaugh.
oh, right. Yes.
I haven't
okay.
paid too much attention to them, but they're
The two fakest names in sports media.
Clay and Buck. Are
Clay
they?
Sexton and Buck Travis.
Are they?
No,
they're
no,
not
opposite.
in sports. They're not in sports media.
Yeah,
are they?
no, they are sports media.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clay Travis has his own. Remember the clip we covered of the head coach of South Carolina being asked about trans women in sports? That's his outfit. Outkick is what it's called.
Also,
the coverage was what
is
it
he the
used to be
guy
called.
who was like, free speech is saying boobs are cool? I think that was Clay Travis.
I don't remember, but he's
sounds like him.
Was he on like Survivor or something like that? No.
No, I don't think so.
He's
But-
he's a sports radio guy
Yeah,
who got his start at
crank.
Fox Sports, and now he has his own right-wing sports outlet.
And this is the show, I think, that really took over from Limbaugh in many markets.
Right. Yeah, Clay Travis. I love the First Amendment and boobs, he said on CNN a while ago. So that's what I'm talking about.
What
All
an
right,
alpha.
so yes, that's well said. Here is Clay Travis and Buck Sexton with their plan on how to get Donald Trump off from his criminal charges in Manhattan.
So, to the extent that we have anybody, I believe there's a jury pool of 500 people that have been initially called. I've said this on the show before, but I want to reiterate it now. We have a large listenership in the New York City area. WOR, we love you guys. If you are fortunate enough to be in this jury pool, I want you, and you listen to this show, I want you to go and do everything you can to get on this jury. Usually people, Buck, try to avoid jury duty like with every fiber of their being, right? I've got a conflict. Generally getting out of jury duty is almost an art form. I want a Trump voting patriot to get on this jury, recognize this for what it is, a sham political prosecution targeted against Donald Trump because he is running for president, and I want you to refuse to convict. I want jury nullification. If I were in New York City and I were on this jury group, I would do everything that I could to get seated on this jury, and I would refuse to convict. It only takes one person. We're not going to get an acquittal. There's too many anti-Trump people.
Yeah, of course.
He's too guilty.
There's no way you're going to get 12 jurors to recognize this for what it is, a political sham. Alvin Bragg is lowering every felony to a misdemeanor. Here, he's trying to elevate a misdemeanor to a felony based on what I think is illegitimate use of the law. The only way to fight back against lawfare is by refusing to comply with it. And so if you can
Pause
vote
it for 1
not
second.
guilty,
I mean, the idea that all of New York City, they can't find jurors who are going to be fair. That's the premise here. That's why he's got to have somebody come lie to get on the jury, and then just have a predetermined outcome, not listen to the facts. I mean, if you were so convinced that this was such a sham, you wouldn't need to make that call for that.
But they assume this because of liberal New York and because, let's be real, Alvin Bragg is a black man. So they make, I mean, it's the same way that the same tenor of the attacks on Letitia James as well from the Trump people. They're just like, they're working backwards from their, love for Donald Trump, and they don't really care what facts get in their way.
Yeah. I mean, I do appreciate the education he's given on jury nullification. When I was on the grand jury, me and several others already knew about this concept, didn't need to be told by some YouTuber, but any nonviolent drug possession cases we wouldn't vote to convict on. When like a kid got involved or like some violent thing, like I think people's sort of maybe
Now,
jury
did you say that?
nullification-
Did they ask you that question up front or no?
They asked very little questions because it was grand jury. They just needed bodies in there to get cases through because grand juries see a lot of different cases like every day. This is probably more specific where they're more grilling the jury
Yeah.
members. And I don't
would
think you'll be
imagine.
able to get through if you admit to listening to Clay Sexton and Buck Travis.
Right.
I'd be
They're
curious
asking
if
questions.
you were what sanctions would be if a juror lied. I think after the fact, a prosecutor could, or for that matter, a defense attorney could say, we need to have a retrial.
Oh yeah, gosh, imagine that. You get Trump off, and then it's like, well, no, they went through your YouTube history.
Thanks, Clay. Thanks, Buck. Go ahead.
Use of the law. The only way to fight back against lawfare is by refusing to comply with it. And so if you can vote not guilty, if you can get on this jury, you can become a hero. I really mean that. Yeah. And I don't know what percentage.
The numbers are very slim. There are 8.5 million people in New York City. So unfortunately, I don't think we're able to necessarily turn this wheel ourselves, but it would be great if it happens.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's 500 people that get called, if one or two of them listen to Clay and Buck every now and then as a percentage of the overall audience. That wouldn't be crazy. What you know better than me, Manhattan 2020 election went for Joe Biden what percentage? The 80-20?
Oh, gosh.
Not higher than
80-20? 85 to 90, I think, or I'd say 85. It's between 80 and 90.
So if you did the basic math there, that would mean there's maybe 50 people in the 500 jury pool that would have voted for Trump, maybe 50 to 75. Like, that's not crazy, right? Now, obviously, some people wouldn't have voted at all, which obviously happens. But you're talking about 10 or 15% of whatever jury pool likely to be Trump supporters, right?
Look, all it takes is one. But to the principle at work here, Clay, I think you mentioned nullification, and I think if you look at, for example, UCMJ in the military, you do not have to obey an unlawful order.
It's incredible that these guys are the constitutionalists, and they also will say law and order at the same time, and how crime is out of control. But they have predetermined that this prosecution is political, and so you got to go in there and disrespect your role as a juror, which, I mean,
you're not a troop as a juror.
You're supposed to, like, take that duty seriously as a civil servant, and they're like, no, go in there as a sleeper cell and get our guy off of the charges.
You don't need to reference the military to say you don't need to convict him. Like, what an illegal order? You're asked to be judging a guy in a jury of his peers.
Well, I'm doing this under Article 3 of the Clay and Buck Charter.
Patriots Constitution.
There you go. I wonder now if the prosecutors are going to say, I mean, they'll hear about this. And I wonder if the prosecutors are going to say, have you ever heard this radio station?
And then just silence the courtroom. Like, all right, moving on.
And of course, you know, those 500 jurors who were in that pool, I think there were something like 200 that were already called in there. They're not listening to talk radio this morning, probably. Right? Or maybe, I guess you can get it online.
Yeah. I mean,
they're sitting in there waiting in the jury pool.
Checking your cell phone.
The Millrid. Clay Travis is a lawyer. His comments are sanctionable. Arguably, it's jury tampering. The obligations that come with a bar card are a good place to start.
That guy's a lawyer? Man, I could probably still be a lawyer.
It is interesting. Look, we have a decent amount of listeners. Where is Clay Travis from? Where is he practice the law?
Clay?
I don't know where he practiced, but he lives in Minneapolis now, if I'm not mistaken.
Nashville, Tennessee, Vanderbilt Law.
Wow. He works as a lawyer in the U.S. Virgin.
George Washington University, if you can believe that. Kind of perfect there, yeah, as undergrad.
I can believe that. GW is pretty conservative,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It's all these morons.
Well,
except for, there's a few good exceptions, but yeah.
I'd be curious as to where he is a member of the bar. Now, I don't know if he's a practicing lawyer. He worked as a lawyer in Virgin Islands in Tennessee. I guess he could try. I imagine he doesn't practice that often, but
I don't know if it'd be a huge harm to him.
Also, I think I was confusing American and GW. Maybe American's the conservative
GW
one.
is also like libertarian Coke, I think, back.
Well, Jonathan Turley was a George Washington law professor, if I'm not mistaken.
Sorry.
Well, but it might be worth sending a notice to the Bar Association in Tennessee and say, like, is he supposed to be doing this?
Oh, I was thinking about George Mason.
Good point.
Yeah, you were thinking George Mason. George Mason is the libertarian one.
Right.
George Washington is just
GW's normal.
I don't know
American,
much
though,
about it, yeah.
is conservative in Washington, D.C. as a college.